Hello everyone. For our capstone project, we are proposing a card game called Course. The participants include Omar Spiller Hernandez, David Gale, and Scott Lamb, which is me. Most traditional card games are complex, with many effects per card. We are creating a simple element-based card game that still has the same strategic depth. It uses simple card effects such as move, draw, and deal damage, while allowing each deck to have its own unique playstyle based on the element.
All right, everyone. I'm Omar. I'll go over these next few slides. The most important parts for the approach. We are using the agile methodology to check in on ourselves. You can see in the slide that we are using short sprints. We've already set up weekly meetings and had some feedback from each other and our mentor on how to further design and tools that we can use. The next are risks and dependencies. So one of the risks that we have already encountered is scope creep. We need to lock in all the features and any designs that we are planning on working on early. This ties into gameplay and technical challenges because if any part of the game is too one-sided, it'll disrupt the next set of design. So we have to get everything locked down early before we can move on, at least in the early stages. For dependencies, we need to have rules and cards ready before we can start making any code. For the project as a whole, our backend needs to be mostly complete before final front end can be written. And for the front end, we need to have assets ready before we do a final public deployment. One of the other dependencies that we are working on is the authorization system. We've spoken with our mentor, and Google authentication has been mentioned, so we are working on potentially using that for those systems. The final deliverables that we are planning on having is a playable, publicly accessible game that can be accessed on any browser. We'll have our complete source code available in our GitHub repository, complete with our documentation for the entire project. This includes any database diagrams, all our meeting notes, the assets that we use for the front end, and the design documentation. And finally, our final capstone presentation or video showcasing final gameplay for the game.
Look at the current state of the project. So we are currently in early development of cores. As of now, we are focused on getting our environment set up and selecting tools and creating basic concepts for application. Looking down the list for our tools, our project will mostly consist of React. We're using Supabase, SQL in the backend, and Tailwind for CSS. We'll be uploading this to Vercel. And then for designing, we're using Procreate and Figma. Our assets are going to be custom made. We currently have wireframes completed and are ready to start final designs and prototyping. To keep track of everything, we're using Notion. We have a Notion board set up with tasks for the front end, back end, and design, as well as databases for documentation, meeting notes, and timeline estimates. And for our timeline, we're looking towards the end of June. Sorry, we're in June. Yeah. So we've done all our research. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. So we want to make sure we have all of our tooling and disbursement of responsibilities done by the 4th. It looks like we're on track for that. We are starting our authentication for both backend and front end. Taking a look at things like Google Auth and also using Supabase in the backend. And then as you can see consistently, we are completing gameplay assets, the banners, backgrounds, cards, animations, etc. This will be ongoing throughout the whole project. And towards the beginning of August, This is where we plan to have the completed first version of Cores done, so we can move on to bug fixing and testing. For contributions, Omar, he's our original game concept creator and our lead backend engineer. Scott is taking the lead on the front end, and then that leaves myself. I am the lead UI UX designer and the project manager.